The operating room lights were blinding her eyes. As Rachel Torres lay on the cold metal table, she listened to the monotonous buzzing of the neon lamps on the ceiling. As the anesthesia mask approached her face, only one thought kept circling in her mind. Was this my last game? When the 6-hour surgery was completed, the expression on Dr. Michael Harrison's face said it all. He turned to Rachel's mother, Maria, who had been waiting in the corridor, and took a deep breath. "Maria, the surgery went successfully, but the extent of the damage to Rachel's kneecap is much more serious than we thought. The anterior cruciate ligament is completely torn, the meniscus is shattered, and there are fractures in the knee bone." Maria's hands began to tremble. As she tried to understand the doctor's words, she could feel her heart beating rapidly. "What does this mean, doctor? Rachel will recover, won't she?" Dr. Harrison continued, averting his eyes. "Maria, I have to be honest with you. Playing football at the NFL level after such injuries, statistically, it's a very low possibility. Maybe 5%, maybe 10%. Rachel's career is probably over." Hearing those words, Maria had to lean against the cold wall of the corridor. Her eyes filled with tears as she thought of her daughter's football passion that had consumed her entire life, the dreams that had persisted since childhood. How am I going to tell her this? When Rachel emerged from anesthesia, she found herself in the hazy atmosphere of the hospital room. She was confronted by the disinfectant smell entering her nose, the sounds of patient visitors in the distance, and her mother's tearful eyes standing beside her. Her right leg was wrapped in thick bandages, and she couldn't move it. "Mom," Rachel whispered, her voice still hoarse from the anesthesia's effect. "How did the surgery go? When can I return to training?" Maria took her daughter's hand, noticing how cold her hands were. While trying to wipe away the tears in her eyes, she said, "Mija, focus on resting now. The surgery took a long time and your body needs to heal." But Rachel could read the expression on her mother's face. At 26, at the peak of her life as one of the NFL's most talented goalkeepers, she didn't recognize this look: fear, worry, and worse, pity. The next day, when Dr. Harrison entered Rachel's room, he saw the light of determination burning in Rachel's eyes. "Doctor, please tell me the truth. When can I return to the field?" The doctor moved his chair closer to Rachel's bed. With years of experience, he knew how to deliver such news, but this time was different. Rachel wasn't just any patient, she was a Super Bowl champion, a hero to millions, an inspiration to young girls. "Rachel, I have to be honest with you, the damage to your knee is very serious. Your anterior cruciate ligament is completely torn, your meniscus is shattered, and there are fractures in your bones. Playing football at the NFL level after this surgery, mathematically, it's very difficult." Rachel felt as if the world was spinning above her head. The walls of the room seemed to be collapsing on her. The fluorescent lights on the ceiling seemed to be burning her eyes. "What do you mean? So my career is over?" "Rachel, statistics are merciless. The rate of athletes who can return to the same level after such injuries is between 5% and 10%. And that's for normal athletes. In extreme physical intensity, like the NFL, no," Rachel shouted angrily, hearing her voice echo in the hospital corridors. "I'm not a statistic. I'm Rachel Torres. I'm the woman who achieves the impossible. You tell me 5%, I tell you 100%. The day she was discharged from the hospital, the atmosphere of Rachel's home in Dallas had completely changed. The cups and medals that had previously covered the walls now seemed like painful memories to her. At every step, the sounds made by the crutches on the floor had replaced her normal walk. On the first day, she went to physiotherapy. While sitting in the waiting room of the therapy center, she watched the other patients around her. An elderly man was rubbing his leg with surgical scars on his knee. A young woman was trying to do shoulder rotations. Rachel thought she couldn't put herself in the same category as these people. She was different. She was an NFL star. When physiotherapist Sarah Chen first met with Rachel, she noticed the stubbornness in her eyes. "Rachel, I spoke with your doctor about your condition. This process will be long and difficult, but most importantly, We need to set realistic goals. My realistic goal is to return to the NFL, Rachel replied with a firm voice. I have no other goals. Sarah had worked with dozens of professional athletes. She knew that all of them had this determination, but she also knew that most had to face reality. Rachel, we'll start with simple movements first. Even bending your knee 45 degrees will be a great achievement for you right now. In that first session, Rachel tried to do simpler movements than she had ever done before. Even bending her leg a few degrees was painful. As sweat drops trickled down her forehead, the same thought kept turning in her head. I, who made miraculous saves in front of thousands of people on NFL fields, am now struggling to bend my leg. 3 weeks later, progress was much slower than expected. Every night Rachel would lie in her bed looking at the ceiling and asking herself questions. What if it's really over? What if the doctor is right? What if I can never run on that field again? One night when her mother Maria entered Rachel's room, she found her crying. Mija, don't cry. Everything will be okay. Mom, Rachel replied sobbing, who am I if I'm not an NFL player? My entire identity, my entire being is defined by football. Who will I be without football? Maria sat next to her daughter, starting to stroke her hair. You are my daughter first of all. You are a strong, intelligent, determined woman. Football defines you, but you are much bigger than football. But Rachel didn't believe her mother's words. During the sleepless hours at midnight, she would watch old game videos, repeatedly viewing the saves she used to make. Each video made her current situation more painful. 2 months later, she made small progress in physiotherapy. The day she could bend her knee 90 degrees, she noticed the surprise on Sarah Chen's face. Rachel, this is really very good. Most of my patients can reach this level in 3 months. That night, Rachel called her mother to give her the good news. Mom, I bent my knee completely today. I'm getting better. But the real test would be starting to run. 6 months later, Dr. Harrison allowed Rachel to run at a slow pace on the treadmill. That first running session was one of the most emotional moments of Rachel's life. When she stepped on the treadmill, she had missed the feeling of movement under her legs. When the speed was set to 2 miles per hour, she started moving forward with slow steps. Each step was both a physical and emotional victory. As the minutes passed, she wanted to increase the speed, but Sarah stopped her. Don't rush, Rachel. The body needs time. But something had changed inside Rachel. Hope was seeping through the dark thoughts. I can do it, she thought. Maybe the doctor is wrong. Maybe I can be in that 5%. After that night, Rachel's training program became more disciplined. She would get up at 6 every morning, go to physiotherapy, and in the afternoon, apply her own program at the gym. But the most difficult part was regaining her mental endurance. One day, her former teammate and closest friend Maya Rodriguez came to visit her. Maya explained that in Rachel's absence, the team had to play with another goalkeeper, but none could reach Rachel's level. Rachel, the team misses you. Coach Martinez constantly asks when you'll return. Rachel's eyes filled with tears. Maya, I want to return too, but what if I can't do it? What if I can't be like I used to be? Maya firmly held her friend's hand. Rachel, you're the strongest person I know. If anyone can do this, it's you. But most importantly, you have to believe in yourself. 8 months later, when Rachel got permission from her doctor to run, her first goal was to go to her old training field. When she arrived at the Dallas Wranglers training facility, security guard Mike was surprised when he recognized her. Rachel, how nice to see you here. How are you? I'm fine, Mike. Much better. I just want to run a little. When she stepped onto the field, the smell of the grass, the silence of the stands, and the sight of the goal lines overwhelmed her with nostalgia. 6 months ago, she was playing here in front of thousands of people. Now she stood alone. When she started her first run, the familiarity of the ground under her legs comforted her, but after running for just a few minutes, she felt a slight pain in her knee. She stopped, out of breath. This is normal, she consoled herself. The body needs to get used to it. But that pain triggered the doubts in her head. What if it's really over? What if I can never be like I used to be again? When she returned home that evening, her mother noticed the mixed expression on her face. "How did it go, Mija?" "It went well, Mom, but—" Rachel stopped, not knowing how to choose her words. "My leg hurt. Maybe the doctor was right. Maybe this dream is too big." Maria sat across from her daughter, holding her hands. "Rachel, look at me. You've achieved the impossible throughout your life. You became the only female NFL player. You won the Super Bowl. This isn't impossible for you either. It just takes time." But the doubts in Rachel's head were growing. When she went to bed at night, she thought to herself, what if everyone is wrong? What if I'm deceiving myself? 10 months later, Rachel's progress had come to a standstill. She could run, but couldn't reach her old speed. Her leg hurt during sudden direction changes, and she couldn't maintain balance against strong shots. One day during training, while making a simple move, she twisted her knee and fell to the ground. At that moment, all her hopes after the surgery were shattered. As she lay on the ground, looking at the lights on the ceiling, she thought, maybe everyone was right. Maybe this story ends here. After Dr. Harrison examined Rachel, he said, "There's no serious damage, Rachel, but your body is still pushing its limits. Maybe it's time to take a step back." That night, as Rachel sat alone in her bedroom, she thought it was time to accept that her career was over. She picked up her phone, wanting to call Coach Martinez. She wanted to tell him that her career was over, that the team needed to make other plans. As she was about to dial the number, her phone rang. The caller was her former coach, Sarah Mitchell. "Rachel, how are you? I'm worried about you." "Coach, I think it's over. I'll never be able to be like I used to be." Sarah could understand Rachel's state of mind from the silence on the phone. "Rachel, I want to share a story with you. Do you know that in 2010, Derrick Rose had knee surgery? Doctors said his career was over too, but he didn't give up. And when he returned, he became MVP. But Coach, you're like Derrick Rose, Rachel. You're a fighter, and fighters fight until their last breath." After that conversation, something changed in Rachel's mind. The next morning she got up early, looked in the mirror, and made a promise to herself. 6 more months. I'm giving myself 6 more months. If I can't succeed after 6 months, I'll quit. Rachel's new training program was much harder and more disciplined than the previous one. She would get up at 5 every morning and go for a run. She increased physiotherapy, started working with a kinesiologist, and most importantly, began sessions with sports psychology specialist Dr. Amanda Foster. Dr. Foster's office had a calm and peaceful atmosphere. Nature landscapes on the walls, a lavender-scented candle on the desk, and relaxing music. In the first session, Dr. Foster asked Rachel, "Rachel, why do you want to return to the NFL?" "Because that's who I am. I'm a football player." "But you're also a human being. Football's what you do, not what you are." These words confused Rachel. Until that day, she had always defined herself as a football player. But was Dr. Foster right? Was she just a football player? As the weeks passed, the sessions with Dr. Foster increased not only Rachel's physical recovery, but also her mental strength. "Rachel, fear is natural, but don't let fear control you. You control your fears." Physical training was also getting increasingly difficult. Her new trainer, Carlos Rivera, was a former football player and injury specialist. Carlos's methods weren't traditional, but they were effective. "Rachel, don't just try to heal your leg. You're rebuilding your entire body. You're becoming Rachel 2.0. Carlos's training was so hard that some days Rachel couldn't stop herself from crying. But after each difficult training session, she felt a little stronger. One day during training, Carlos said to her, "Rachel, do you think you're stronger than before or weaker?" Rachel stopped, thought, "I don't know. Physically, maybe I'm weaker, but mentally, I think I'm stronger." "That's it. You're not just a talented athlete anymore. You're also a warrior." 14 months later, Rachel began to feel ready. She called Coach Martinez and said she wanted to train with the team. The coach was both excited and worried. "Rachel, the team has missed you a lot, but don't rush. Come when you feel ready." When training day came, Rachel had butterflies in her stomach. When she entered the locker room, her teammates greeted her with flowers. Maya Rodriguez hugged her, unable to hold back her tears. "Rachel, you're finally back." When she stepped onto the field, the familiar smell of grass, the sight of the stands, and standing between the goalposts overwhelmed her with nostalgia. But this time was different. This time, there was excitement mixed with fear. The first training started with simple warm-up movements, running, passing drills, coordination exercises. Rachel's leg was tense at first, but gradually began to relax. The real test came during goal training. When the first shot came, Rachel reflexively threw herself on the ball. The save was successful, and the team started applauding. But Rachel felt a slight discomfort in her leg. The second shot was more difficult, a powerful shot going to the upper right corner. Rachel threw herself into the air, saved the ball, but twisted her knee when falling to the ground. The pain was evident on her face, and the coach stopped training. "Rachel, are you okay?" "Yes, I was just a little tense. I can continue." But doubts had started to resurface in Rachel's mind. What if I'm really not ready? What if I get injured again? After training was over, as she sat alone in the locker room, Maya came to her. "Rachel, you can't expect to be perfect on your first day. This is a process." "But Maya, I'm not like I used to be. I don't have speed, my reflexes are slow. Maybe everyone was right." Maya touched her friend's shoulder. "Rachel, you fought for a year. Now you can't give up because of a few bad minutes." 3 weeks later, Coach Martinez gave Rachel the opportunity to play a game with the reserve team. This would be a real test. The opponent was one of Texas's strong semi-professional teams. On the morning of the game day, Rachel woke up early, and looking out the window, she saw Dallas's sunny morning. Her heart was beating fast. This game would determine the future of her career. While putting on her uniform in the locker room, she noticed her hands were shaking. Was this excitement or fear? Maybe it was both. Before going onto the field, she remembered Dr. Foster's words. "Rachel, you don't have to be perfect. Just do your best." The first half was tough. Rachel made 2 easy saves, but the big test hadn't come yet. At halftime, the coach approached her. "How are you, Rachel?" "Good, just a little nervous." "Normal. It's normal to be nervous in your first game." At the beginning of the second half, the real test came. The opposing team launched a strong attack and caught a dangerous position inside the penalty box. The opposing forward shot hard to the bottom right corner. At that moment, Rachel felt time slow down. As the ball glided through the air, dozens of thoughts passed through her mind. "This is my moment. This is the moment I'll prove who I am." She threw herself on the ball, deflected it to the corner with her fingertips. Applause rose from the stands, and Rachel found her old self at that moment. "I'm still Rachel Torres." She made 3 more saves in the remaining part of the game. When they won the game 2-1, her teammates carried her on their shoulders. At the post-game press conference, a journalist asked, "Rachel, what does this comeback mean to you?" Rachel, with tears in her eyes, said, "This isn't just a comeback. This is a rebirth. I'm not the old Rachel. I'm stronger, smarter, more resilient Rachel." 2 months later, Coach Martinez offered Rachel to return to the main squad. "Rachel, you're ready. The team needs you." Her first official game would be played against the Denver Broncos. The 65,000-seat stadium was full, and everyone was curious about Rachel's return. When she stepped onto the field, the applause from the stands moved her. Fans had opened banners saying, "Welcome back, Rachel." The game was very tough. Denver set up a strong offensive game and tested Rachel's endurance. In the first quarter, she made 2 critical saves. In the second quarter, she deflected the opposing team's penalty. The real test came in the last quarter. The score was 21-21, and Denver was pushing for a last-minute goal. The opposing team's star, Tim Patrick, was alone with the ball inside the penalty box. At that moment, Rachel found her old confidence. "I did this. I'm Rachel Torres." Patrick shot, Rachel made a miraculous save, sending the ball to the corner. The stadium stood up, and Rachel felt her career had returned at that moment. The game ended with a 24-21 Dallas victory, and Rachel was chosen as the star of the game. After that night, Rachel Torres became not just an NFL player, but also a symbol of hope. She became an inspiration for athletes returning after injury, an example for people who never give up. At the press conference, a journalist asked, "Rachel, how did this experience change you?" Rachel answered with a thoughtful expression. "This injury taught me how fragile life is, but it also showed me how strong a person can be. I'm not just Rachel Torres anymore. I'm warrior Rachel Torres." What is your advice to athletes in the same situation? I want to say this: nothing is impossible. There are only dreams that take longer. I fought for 18 months for this return, and I'm here today. If I can do it, anyone can do it. Rachel Torres' story went down in history not just as a comeback story, but as a story of human resilience, determination, and never giving up. And before each game, Rachel, touching that old injury scar, would whisper to herself, "This is just the beginning. The best is yet to come."